sometime. I hate the lag. The lag kills me. Oh, just making sure everything's off. All right, looks like that we are live now. All right, welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for the 12 Days of DFIRmas. I'm Amy Moll, CEO and co-founder of ArcPoint Forensics, and I have Alexis here with me today, joining us on the podcast. So, Alexis, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background and how you got started in digital forensics?
Absolutely. So, so I'm an examiner for a federal law enforcement agency. So, open scripts made in Python from iOS, Android devices, cars, from search returns that ISPs provide data to you. So it has some parsers for that. I come from a programming background, so it kind of makes sense, and making some code and some tools to automate the forensic process. And obviously, the law enforcement informs what type of artifacts I work. Another thing that I like doing a lot is sharing information with the community. So I'm lucky to have Heather Charpentier, awesome examiner. We have a podcast together called the Digital Forensics Now podcast, all about digital forensics. So I'm happy to do that. And I'm a digital forensics meme farmer. So I grow memes in my meme fields and I share them with the community. So I really enjoy doing that as well. So
your memes crack me up. They actually keep me going throughout the day. It's always a nice surprise when one of them pops up in my feed.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I put a lot of mine and other people's experiences in it. So it's more like a mirror of what our daily work and lives look like. So hopefully it resonates with people.
Yeah, and as I feel like as digital forensic analysts, we all have that dark, jaded sense of humor. So it's perfect. Tell me a little bit about your holiday shirt. It looks like they're Christmas cookies, maybe?
Yeah. So first of all, nothing says Christmas better than Hello Kitty, obviously. and my 8-year-old saw my shirt this morning. He's like, I'm gonna eat your shirt. Like, no, don't drool it, please. So it's look at Christmas cookie. Let me show everybody here. See, I have all the Christmassy stuff. So I didn't have one of those ugly sweaters, but I have a Hello Kitty Christmas shirt.
Hey, whatever works. Is Hello Kitty your personal favorite?
I'm not gonna confirm or deny that. I'm gonna just leave it at that. It's Keroppi. It's Keroppi. I accept it. It's Keroppi, little frog.
Well, it's nothing like this giant bow. I feel like this is the most obnoxious headband out of the entire kit that I bought. So it's perfect. And I have my little sign changed out. So it says Elf, yeah. That's the energy we're bringing into today. We have to get it done. So
Elf, yeah. I love it.
All right. So just kind of jump right in. So as of right now, what do you think some of the trends are? I know that leading up to today, we've talked about a lot of trends in the other episodes, but I would love to hear your perspective.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, I enjoyed the series so much so far. Really good folks that you had before, and those 12 different days of DFIRmas. And one of them talk about AI, and I agree with some of those comments. AI is going to really change how we look at things and how that integrates with the forensic tools that we have now and all the challenges that come with it. Also, I believe artifact intelligence. And what I mean by that is you have your tooling does and pulls data out for you and says, here's the stuff. And that's fine. But how about we can put 2 and 2 together? Say, well, and some of the toolings are already doing that. Let's say you're saying, well, there's a picture and I have different data sources that might be able to help me determine where the picture came from. Well, they put them together. Just don't show me the picture. Tell me, look, it came from this application, either downloaded or to the browser, and there's some timestamps for that, some geolocation data, not only from the EXIF, which is what we think about pictures, but some other data sources. Maybe, and that's something I've done in my own coding, maybe in iOS, for example. In iOS, you can change the timestamps of those pictures. Well, here's my tooling detecting that the timestamp has been changed or that the location of that EXIF data has been changed. So how can we add that intelligence to just the tool parsing process. I think it's a trend that needs to grow, and I'm trying to, hopefully people promote that in their tooling and in their work, if that makes sense.
No, it does make sense. Yeah. And I think that you're a huge proponent of validating tool sets, right? So understanding how those artifacts got there, how to pull them out, how to parse them. I think all of that is really important fundamentally to understand your case,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah,
the
and like
data
just like
itself.
well, and Jess was saying the other day, like courts, right? It can't be just, well, I run the tool and here it is, right? Because now the courts, and she explained it really well. If folks that are watching haven't seen that episode, go watch it. It's not enough, right? Either you show them this is how the tool works on the inside, if it's an open source tool, or you tell them, look, this is from a company, but I tested it in this rigorous and scientific manners. Therefore, this input and this output is consistent, you can trust it based on all my testing. And that's a mindset change that we need to start pushing for, I believe, more.
So Jessica said she loves your Hello Kitty sweater. And then we also have another comment from Brett Shavers saying that we have to tell the tools what we want them to do, which is important, right? Especially if you don't know what you're looking for or how to get there.
Well, and that's the encapsulation. I love how he said it. It encapsulates what I said in so many words, that the tool will pull the stuff out as is, but I want the tool now to be able to join those threads and not tell me the endpoint, because that's something I will determine. Just show me those correlations, and then me as an examiner, I will determine if they're made correctly and if they're relevant to my case. Okay, and that needs to happen more. And I see tooling, for example, the tooling that you all put out from Atrio to other providers, really getting into that space. And I think more we should do that more and more.
Yeah, I totally agree. So dealing with the large volumes of data, like going through and validating all of the different artifacts and the data that you're seeing, what are some strategies or technologies that you're using that you think is most effective in handling that?
So this is the thing, right? So the way I think about it is, imaging is time consuming, processing is time consuming, and artifact analysis and reporting is time consuming. Everything is time consuming, and we can really try to push hard on the hardware level, like BitsMinds was, the companies like that are doing, Samori and others, and that's fine, and we want that, right? But at some point, I believe the big speed up is going to be on focusing on that triage, right? Can we get actionable things while these things are going, right? If you're on site, what's triage look on site? Am I grabbing every single thing that's plugged to the wall? Maybe I don't need to do that, right? And we need to make smart choices on what we're seizing, right? If you're in law enforcement, for example. Because let me make a quick point on that. Like in the IR world, incident response, imaging all computers on an incident response engagement, that's not a thing. It is not a thing, right? But in digital forensics is. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't do that in digital forensics. What I'm saying is, I understand you need to image everything, but the mindset is that from the IR world is, we know what artifacts we care about for this particular engagement. Why can't the DF world do the same, right? If I'm working for example, a fraud case, and based on the factors of the case, can I have a set of artifacts that I can triage while the whole caboodle is being copied or processed or whatever it is? Because then I can provide my stakeholders actionable stuff before everything ends. And I will tell you, sometimes that triaging process, it might be all you need to either prove your case or determine the patient serial and IR engagement or whatever it is, right? And you could be done even before everything else is done, right? So triaging, I believe, being smart about triaging should be a mindset change, because we're used to copy, parse, do everything, and then we have mountains of things to analyze, right? So we can be way more targeted, I believe.
Yeah. Do you think that people are just going in, like the digital forensic community versus incident response? Do you think we're going in and just having like a fear of missing out on certain data? And that's why we set that practice of just getting everything rather than triaging on scene?
Well, so this is the thing. I agree with that, right? I don't want to miss data, so I don't disagree with that. But notice that I guess the thought process is, you're gonna get everything. That's okay, but you can't. While you sit and wait to get everything, we can do tooling. We can do processes to triage that, so we can actually get to actionable intelligence while we wait for everything. I'm trying to kind of promote like a middle way of, yes, I know DF wants everything, especially in law enforcement. You're gonna get it, but don't sit down and wait till everything is imaged and processed and parsed, and then the tool has analyzed everything. What I'm proposing is, what are your triaging procedures? What are your triaging artifacts that you care about for your particular case? And this mean that you need more intelligence at the beginning, right? What case are we working? What are the expectations from that case? What is if it's a law enforcement deal, what's the crime problem that we're here? Or if it's in private sector, what are we trying to obtain for whatever, let's say, an investigation or a lawsuit or whatever it is? Does that make sense? So we're gonna get everything, but triaging needs to be more focused, I believe.
Yeah, you're speaking my language, right? Obviously, because we have a triage tool that we use for field
Mm-hmm.
purposes, and we were seeing that a lot in our industry before we started ArcPoint. As examiners, you would go in there and they would give you a box full of media, and you didn't need 75% of it, but you still had to look at it, unfortunately, because it was already in the lab,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that impacts the time like time on target, right? How much time do you have to analyze the data, report it, and then move on to the next step? And it was drastically impacting, case backlog, which it's a waterfall approach, right? So
Well, no, and one of the other reasons I started my own tooling, the leaps, is because uh, and this is a real example. Some of my local agencies did a bust, and they have like whatever. I don't remember the exact number, but let's say 20 phones, just to be conservative. They have 20 phones, and they image the phones. Now, how can we determine which phone is more important? Well, you can roll on a lightweight triaging tool and target on specific artifacts, and then the phones that have something responsive to that will go to the top of the line, or for the first of the line, to be looked at more deeply. For example, that's one way of you can do it. And I got cases where some of our triaging tools, or even sometimes kind of by hand. And what I mean by hand is that you went and looked for certain artifacts that will be responding to the case. And I can write my report just on that, right? Of course, we wait for everything to be done. But I think there's a lot of value, because the speed, at some point, the hard drives will go as fast as they go. Memory will be as fast as it is. You will put CPU power, and transistors can only be as close as they can be, right? And we're gonna hit some ceiling. Does that make sense? Like a physics will provide a ceiling on how fast you can brute force things. But analysis and triaging, there's no limit to that, right? That's all about what your case is about, and how do you apply that to your data set.
yeah, and definitely your workflow and how efficient you want to be. So are there any
Mm-hmm.
specific technologies or tools that you think are going to play a critical role going into 2024?
Yeah, so I mean, it might sound overdone because I already said it, but I'll say it again. The whole AI thing, and the thing with the AI is, like, I want AI to say, okay, look, I feed my AI these fact patterns for different type of fraud cases, just to use an example. And if I have a case that I have probable cause to believe that fraud has happened, then I can feed it to my AI system and then get a lead on where the possible fraud indicators are, because the AI does that for me, and then I can deeper or validate, which leads to what are the ethical implications of that, right? Because now the system, in a sense, is blind, right? It's not me looking that first go, it's the system doing it. So how can we make sure that that system is doing it correctly, not only from a technical standpoint, but from a bias standpoint, right? If I'm looking for a particular set of facts in this piece of evidence, it shouldn't be looking for something else, because it might violate a person's privacy or violate a court order, right? And it's not me doing it; it's the tool doing it. But it doesn't matter, right? I'm responsible for
Right.
it at the end of the day, right? And, well, the tool did it. The AI, is sentient. It's not my fault. Put the AI in jail. That's not how it works, right? So we need to be cognizant of how these things work. We can just blindly say the AI did it. That's not going to cut it.
Yeah, so as a examiner using AI, right, in your casework,
Hmm.
and you just said like you have to dig deeper and stuff like that. How do we make sure that our examiners, especially junior examiners going in there, aren't developing bad habits and relying on these tool sets and relying on AI to do the jobs and not validating the information? How do you avoid that?
Yeah, and that's a challenge, because that's a normal human tendency, right? If I push this button and I'm getting cookies, then I want more cookies, right? But one day it might not pull the cookie out, and you're already like Pavlov's dogs. You've been trained yourself to react that way, and you're gonna eat it, and you're gonna regret it, right? I know it's a pretty weird example, but hopefully it makes sense. No, it's incumbent upon the community first, and then the training. And I say community first, because you can train people in a classroom, and they'll go out, and their habits are going to be formed by those around them. It's not going to be your class that's going to really ingrain the process, the policy, and the tooling. It's going to be those mentors, the folks in your lab, the people that you interact with, right? So us as a community, right, putting value in the verification of the data and the validation of the process. And I don't want to be negative Nancy, but when tools fail, I want people to know that they failed. So that way they can really feel that impression of, hey, look, don't trust your tools blindly. Actually, let me say a quick example. Like Ian Whiffen is one of the lead people for the analytical part at Celebrite. He did a great blog post recently about how some data in a browser in Safari, the name is indicative of going to a page, right? The link is indicative of going to a page. Well, if you look at it, that's not what it actually is, right? It's tied to tab openings and stuff. And what those timestamps mean change from version to version of that iOS uh, systems, right? That iPhone. Even though the tables is the same name and the fields are the same name, right? But what it means needs to be tested. And he tested it and he found out, wow, this is deceiving, right? Does that make sense? So people like him that putting that content out is super important to make it a cultural thing within our community that the tools are not, we have to start with not trusting the tools and then making sure that they work as we go along.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a comment here from Forensic Wizard. It says, with good mentorship, which is really important. I'm sure. I know I had a really good mentor, still have a good mentor in the digital forensic space. And then I also have a mentor on the business side, right? And I think that's really important um, to find
Yeah,
somebody and latch on. You can have
and
multiples.
developing a culture, right? Because what happens to the person who doesn't have a good mentor, right? Well, they can reach out and be part of the community, right? And the culture you grabbing from that community culture, you can then realize that, well, my mentor might not be the best. I need to really, strengthen my capabilities and my understanding of things by going out, or say out, but reaching out to more people. So that I
Hmm.
believe community and making people part of it, have a community culture is super important. And it's built like you're building community right now with these podcasts, right? We're building community by talking about these topics. The folks that are watching and listening, they're building community by consuming this content. So we need to do more of that.
Yeah, I think a lot of individuals overthink how to build a community or how to interact with the community. So social media is a great way of doing that, and asking questions and also participating in like the digital forensic incident response
Yeah.
review for blogs. There's a lot of different ways that you can get involved. So, and there's a ton of resources, right? So, do you have a favorite resource that you're using right now?
So absolutely. And I'm gonna share a few. Gonna start with mine, obviously. So, and I say that because not because I make it, because I don't make it anymore. In the sense that it's a community project. The lead, for example, I'm gonna really get shout outs to um, James Haben and Johan Polachuk. Those two folks that lately have been doing a lot of great work and having some of their students actually add to the project. I believe examiners, the community, we want to be part of projects that are worthwhile, right? That we feel that we're making a difference in the world, right? And projects like mine, for example, there's so many others like Autopsy and others, where the type of sharing changes, solves cases, and changes people's lives. We need more of that. So the question is, how do we develop those projects, and how do we advertise them to the community so people can join? I've been blessed that people are being supportive of the little projects that I have. So that's really important. Tooling, inspired by tooling. Going back to the question, Exordia and Jess with their Evernote project, how you can look at data live in mobile devices has inspired me a lot. That has led me to MSAB's latest and technical development, extracting memory from Android devices. And what does that mean? I believe this technology can change the mobile forensic space in ways that we're just scratching the surface. Actually, today we have, and today, for the folks maybe listening later, December 14th, on our podcast, Heather and Minds, we're going to be talking about this tool and how memory forensics, what can you get from memory in Android devices. I believe people's minds are gonna be blown up and like that, because there's a lot of things that we assume about memory that does not apply in mobile devices. So I really invite people to check it out tonight at
What is
6
the
p.m.
name of your podcast? Where is it, and where can people find it?
Oh, yeah. So Digital Forensics Now is in YouTube. You can also find it the Audible version in your favorite podcast directories, iTunes, Spotify, all that. And also, we stream it also live in LinkedIn. So if you have my LinkedIn, page, you can also find it there.
And is it every week or every other week on Thursdays?
Every other week on Thursday. Of course, Christmas is coming and holidays, so we'll make a little pause there soon enough, and then we'll go back in January. But we have an episode today, so yeah, every other week on Thursdays at 6 p.m. Eastern.
I have a small little one, and he's with me every Thursday, and we watch it together over dinner. So I'm training him young, right? Like, start absorbing the information now. You'll probably know more than I am by like age 10. It's fine. He's no just doubt. Like a little sponge. So we have one comment here that says you cannot excel to your potential without a mentor or coach or an advisor. And I think that's really important to focus on too, and a comment to highlight, just because getting outside perspective on how you're tackling a problem, sometimes you can wear yourself down, whether it be life problem, professional growth problem, digital forensic case problem, whatever the situation is, you can just wear yourself down. So inviting that outside perspective is key, I think.
Well, and we talk about we need mentors. Well, what are we doing to be mentors as well? Right? It's not only a call for people that are new to find them, it's a call for us to be there for them, right? And you can be a mentor without ever telling the person you're my mentee, or never having an official established relationship. Yeah, and you can do that, and it's on you as the experienced examiner to be available, help people out, and that relationship develops even if you never really put it in paper. So be available.
Yeah, just being able to answer questions. I think when you put that official title on it, some people feel a little overwhelmed with the title. Yeah. Like, I don't have time to be a mentor, or I don't have time for this, I'm too busy. And then, but you're answering someone's question, or you're answering their email, and you're helping them along the way. So you're already a mentor in everybody.
Yeah, it's passion. It's passion. It's passion for about what you do. And that passion is contagious, right? If you have that passion, and I'm not saying you should overwork yourself. I'm not saying that. I said that passion in the proper moments, you share it, and you'll feel better about your work, about yourself, and about how people are growing around you.
Absolutely. So looking into 2024, what do you think some of the key focus areas will be in our community? Obviously, community made that clear.
Well, no. So this is the thing, right? So, and again, some of the folks spoke about in the previous episodes, the cloud, and how to do cloud investigations, dealing with APIs, because at some point, I believe, this is my opinion, that stuff residing like that on devices is going to be less and less, either because it's encrypted or whatever it is. So we will have to maybe use the device as a window into what the real data store is. So examiners need some coding skills, need some reverse engineering skills. If you're an examiner, you don't know what an API is and how to interact with it, or with one, I believe that in the near future, you will have to understand that and how that works. And even if the tool does it for you, you need to be able to understand and explain. Because again, back to what Jess said the other episode, at some point, all that data, what makes everything forensic, your process forensic, is that it's going to be consumed by the legal process, right? If it's not going to be consumed by the legal process, then okay, then whatever. But yeah, so there needs to be science. So we need to show that. And that's going to be a thing that we need to be really aware moving forward. Cloud, APIs, how to take that data and make it digestible and acceptable at court.
How do you make computer programming for someone brand new digestible?
Well, so I'm biased. I like Python a lot. I've lately been learning JavaScript to make some changes in my own coding. So I'm a work in progress. But I believe that if you show people how can you, based on your words, programming is nothing more than words, written words, but they're words. How words can affect reality, how real your words can make changes in the world. Our words through programming control the electricity grid, they control our water, they control the traffic lights, right? They control the temperature. Like the coding is important. In our job, you show people, look.
Oh no, did we lose him?
Oh,
you're back.
I'm back. Yeah, so I was saying, like, if you have a segment file, right? Well, there's some coding, and then you run it, or you look at it and you change in these ways, and now you have actionable intelligence. You know where the phone was at this day at this time, right? You know what the conversation was that was deleted, but you were able to recover it, right? The coding, I get a kick out of it because I see results from those words, and I think people get really motivated when they do something and they see results from it, right? There's nothing more the opposite of it, demotivating, than doing some work and seeing nothing for it. And coding really does that. Coding is needed, I believe. I'm a little bit biased about it. I'm not saying that if you don't, I'm not saying you're not a good examiner if you don't code. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, if you want to really be able to kind of go a little bit deeper and maybe help others, coding is a good way of doing it. Not the only way, not a necessary way, but a really useful way.
Jessica has a comment here that we're always a work in progress, and I think that that's important with just tying into what you just said, right? It doesn't mean you're a bad
Mm-hmm.
examiner. You can be a good examiner and not know how to code. When I first started out, I did not know how to
Absolutely.
code, right? I
Absolutely.
did very small coding class in college, and that was my extent going into my career. And if I didn't have a partner in that coding class, I'm not sure if I would pass. But going
Well,
into it, like learning Python was so important.
yeah. I mean, the thing is, at least at this level, I believe, that's my opinion, right? Might be wrong, but at this level in the community and the taskings and work that we do as examiners across the board, right? The expectation is, if you're an examiner, at least you have to know that there's something there and I need to get it. That's the part that I care about. If you can see something there, you know your data structures, you know how to do your examinations, and you see something that the tool's not pulling, that's what I care about. Because then you can reach out to others that do the coding, or reach out to the vendor, right? The examiner needs to be aware enough of what am I missing, and it's there, and I cannot get it fully because I need that extra step. Now, that being said, I believe that as university programs develop more examiners from at a college degree level, then coding will become like a standard. And you got to remember that most examiners nowadays didn't went to university; they don't have a degree for it, right? They didn't went from certification programs like IASIS or SANS or others. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? But I believe as it gets more I say this, more degrees come into play, then some of those skills will be kind of required in order to come into the data forensics program to work in a lab. But again, that's kind of me predicting what the future might look like. And again, I might be wrong. Who knows?
Well, it'll be interesting to see what 2024 holds for us, especially with new technologies coming out. There's a lot of new technologies coming out, right? So keep us on our toes always.
Hey, job security, 100%.
That's true. That's 100%
I'm
true as
down with
well.
that. I'm down
All
with that.
right.
I'm down with having a job.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. I really appreciate it. It's been really insightful.
Well, thank you for inviting me, and thank you for all the folks that watch and listen. And anything, more happy to help. Just reach out to me.
Awesome. And we'll put in the comments too, like where to find you. So, but LinkedIn is probably the best way right now. Is that your preferred platform?
Yes, LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn the whole way. So find me there, add me, I'll add you, and we'll chat.
Yeah, and then you can follow his memes too. Those will be fun throughout the day. So, well, thank you again so much. Tomorrow we actually have Aaron Sparling on the show, so I'm excited to hear
What a
what his
treat!
perspective is.
What a treat! I'm not gonna miss it.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you so much, and I appreciate everyone who's tuning in, and we'll see everyone
Thank you,
tomorrow.
buddy.
Thank you.
Bye.